Test.
So yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. The IndyGo Board of Directors meeting on Wednesday, June 18th, 2025 is called to order. Bob, would you please call roll?
Good afternoon, Directors. Will you please indicate your attendance when I call your name? Director Slash?
Present. Present.
Director Gardner?
Present.
Director Wilson? Present. We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bob. Given tonight's busy agenda, we've decided to postpone this month's awards and accommodations until the July board meeting. Next is item number 3, the regular agenda. We will begin with action item A1, consideration and approval of the May 15th, 2025 board meeting minutes. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing.
Adopt the minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Got a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion is adopted. Thank you. Next is action item A2, which is the public hearing on the fair proposal policy update. Before we take public comment, please note all speakers must be registered in advance. If you are in the boardroom and wish to speak and have not signed up, you can still do so over the next few minutes. There are 2 public hearings tonight and 2 separate sign-up sheets. Please be sure you sign up to speak on the correct item. We will hold the public hearing for ordinance 2025-01, local bus stops property acquisition after this hearing on the fair proposal, with a brief recess in between. Again, if you wish to speak on either hearing and have not signed up yet, please step out into the lobby just outside the boardroom where you'll see a sign-in table. The team members will be happy to assist you. Sign up will close as soon as each of these hearings begin. We are also allowing virtual speakers for the fair proposal hearing. Those watching on YouTube live stream who wish to speak virtually can register online by going to our website at indigo.net. Once you get to the site, you will be able to get to a pop-up that will take you directly to our value of transit fare policy proposal page. You'll scroll down to the box referencing the public hearing, click there, and follow the instructions for registering to speak virtually. Registration in person and online will remain open for about 5 more minutes. In the meantime, I'd like to turn it over to IndyGo President and Chief Executive Officer Jennifer Pierce, who will share a brief presentation on the fair policy proposal.
Thank you very much. You guys able to pull up that? They pulled that up. Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Pierce, President and CEO here at IndyGo. I want to provide a little bit of background before we jump into the hearing. As you know, leadership brought forth a recommendation to the Board of Directors during our May board meeting to adopt a new fair policy. If approved, this would go into effect January 1st, 2026. This is a result of a year-long process where we reviewed and analyzed our current fare policy, which was put into place in 2019. I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper on what the proposal is. Yeah, you guys have it up. Thank you so much. So we have not adjusted our fixed route base fare in more than 15 years. And during this time, the costs of fuel, labor, and construction have increased considerably, making it necessary for IndyGo to increase fares to keep up with the rising cost of doing business. This includes maintaining the level of service our riders expect and depend on, continuing fair competitive pay for our teammates, especially our professional coach operators who work on the front line, and ensuring our vehicles are in a good state of repair. Thank you, guys. Given the impact of inflation, as of August 2024, the purchasing power of today's base fare of $1.75 is 67% of what it was when it was last raised in 2009. Our operating expenses per vehicle revenue hour. So that is a measure that we use to understand our operations. It is the cost that we incur to operate one vehicle for 1 hour of revenue service. So that operating expenses per vehicle revenue hour have increased nearly 60%. From $1.05 an hour to $180. I'm sorry, say that again. $105 an hour in 2013 to $180 an hour in 2023. And that's just for local fixed route only. Operating expenses include everything it costs to run the service, including the fuel and labor. To match the purchasing power of that $1.75 that was implemented in January 2009, we would need to charge $2.61 in fare today. So we can go to the next slide. So the proposal that we are hearing comment on tonight is shown here. You see that today's full fare on a regular fixed route or a BRTs as well as $1.75. We're talking about it on this chart as 2 hour unlimited. That does not change the way that it operates. But for those of you who maybe ride our service frequently, you know that you can take advantage of free transfers from bus to bus as long as you're within a 2 hour window. So we're just trying to simplify the language and we're calling it out in this table as 2 hour unlimited, but it's the same thing as a single trip, one trip pass. So that currently is $1.75. We're proposing a $1 increase to $2.75. The half fare would increase accordingly from 85 cents to $1.35. We have two opportunities to sort of cap your fare within 1 day period. That's either by using a 1 day pass or taking advantage of our fare capping through the use of MyKey. There's that maximum amount for the 1 day is currently $4. We're proposing for that to go up to $6. And within a 1 week, the same thing. If you either have a 7 day pass or you're taking advantage of fare capping through the use of MyKey, that 1 week maximum is going from $15.75 in this proposal to $24.75. And the half fares increase accordingly. Also, you can head to the next slide, please. Also, as part of this fare proposal, we are proposing the retirement of several of our passes. So if approved, as of July 1st, 2026, we would no longer sell 10 trip, 31 day, S Pass or summer youth passes. And as of July 1st, 2027, if approved, we would no longer accept 7 day, 10 trip, 31 day, S Pass or summer youth passes. Our policy is our policy for the IndyGo Access or paratransit service is such that we charge 2 times the base fare, excuse me, for trips within the ADA area, which is an area that is within 3/4 of a mile of any of our fixed routes. We charge 4 times the base fare in the premium area, which is anything outside of that 3/4 mile radius. Under this fare proposal, we're not changing that part of the policy. We're still 2 times the base fare and 4 times outside of the ADA area. But because we're raising the base fare, there is a proposed adjustment therefore to the IndyGo Access fares. So under this proposal, the ADA area, so anyone within 3/4 of a mile trip, both beginning and ending within 3/4 of a mile of the local route, fixed route, would go from $3.50 to $5.50. And for any rides that begin or end outside of that ADA area, called out as a premium area in the slide, that will go from $7 to $11 for scheduled service and from $10 to $15 for same day service. Finally, I want to highlight a couple areas where there is relief from these fares. We understand that for some of our riders, this proposed fare increase can present quite a challenge. And we want everyone listening to know that there is fare relief available in a couple different ways. Number one, we do offer bulk passes. We have many companies that purchase passes from us in bulk at a discount. They then make those available to their employees at a discounted price. We're always happy to bring new employers on. So if you are an employee who's listening and is interested in that service, feel free to ask your employer to reach out to us. We also, I've mentioned a couple times already about fare capping. Cash is the most expensive way to pay for trips on our system. If the average rider who uses cash today were to switch to MyKey, they can ride their way to free trips. The more that they ride, the more that they will save. There's take, for example, a week where a typical rider rides the bus to work and back home every day, plus maybe takes a couple leisure trips. At the current fare of $1.75, this rider would spend nearly $30 for the week, $29.75, if they were using cash and taking advantage of the free transfers. If that same rider would put their cash on a MyKey card and take the same trips, under this proposed fare increase of $2.75, they would experience the benefit of daily and weekly fare capping and would pay only $24.75 for the same week of rides. That is a $5 savings every week, even under the fare increase. Finally, there's several groups that ride free or half fare on our service. Riders who are 65 years or older and have a Medicaid card ride for half fare. All they need to do is show our teammates at the Julia M. Carson Transit Center's Care Center desk their Medicaid card, and they will be given a free personalized MyKey half fare card and rides on our system half fare. Veterans ride for free. They also just need to visit the transit center and show paperwork proving their veteran status, and they will receive a personalized card that will allow them to ride free on our system. We currently have more than 10,500 eligible veterans with these cards today. Lastly, I want to share the outreach and engagement. We're going to talk a little bit about opportunities beyond this hearing to provide input to us. We very much want to hear from you. I know it's important to all of our directors. We want to share that we have the Value of Transit website page. We have over 7,500 views on that already. We encourage you all to check out that page and the information there. There are links there to provide comment. We've had seven public meetings so far. We have 14 scheduled in total. One of them was virtual, the rest are in person. We've done partner briefings. We have online partner toolkits. We have been out in the media, 20+ media stories. And we have a monthly newsletter where we're sharing information. We'll also be at the Carson Transit Center where we'll be doing rider outreach on buses and setting up opportunities for people to give feedback there. We have printed and digital signage on our buses with QR codes, so please look for those as well. That will direct you to locations where you can provide feedback. And we are currently setting up neighborhood meetings across the city. So if anyone's listening that would like us to come speak at one of your neighborhood gatherings, please reach out. We would love to do that. With that, I appreciate you indulging me, and I look forward to hearing from everybody, and I will turn it back over to Director Gardner.
Thank you, Jennifer. We will now begin the hearing, and that means registration to speak in person and online is now closed. We will begin with those who are here in person and then move to those who have registered to speak virtually. Here are the ground rules for in-person speakers. When your name is called, please come to the microphone. Before you begin your remarks, please state your name and the city, state, and zip code of your residence. Two speakers will be called at a time to ensure we can keep the hearing moving efficiently. The second speaker can remain seated but should walk to the microphone as soon as the speaker before them completes their remarks. You will be given a maximum of 2 minutes to provide comment. We kindly ask that you keep your remarks focused on the proposed fare policy to ensure everyone has an opportunity to speak. We will be using a timer to help keep track and will remind you when you're close to your limit. We appreciate everyone's cooperation. Note that we will not be voting on the proposal tonight. This is a listening session for myself and my fellow board members. Questions will not be answered. If you have questions about the fare proposal, we ask that you attend the public meetings Jennifer just referenced, where you can share your questions and get answers directly from the IndyGo leadership who staff these meetings. We've already held 7 public meetings and 6 more scheduled over the next few weeks. To learn more, please visit www.indigo.net. Comments can also be submitted online and in person at any public meetings. All comments submitted will be shared with us, all of our board members here today. This completes the ground rules for in-person speakers. We will now begin by calling up our first speakers. Again, once you've called all those speaking in person, we will transition to those registered to speak virtually. I will now turn it over to our Director of Communications, Lisa Swords, who will call up our speakers.
Thank you, Director Gardner. We'll begin with Chris Hollingsworth and then move to Corey Wills.
I am Chris Hollingsworth, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229. I serve as the MAC chair. Imagine the price of a gallon of gas going up overnight by $1.80. That's what a 57% increase looks like. And it's a difficult burden for many of the riders of IndyGo to bear, and they often have no other alternatives for transportation. But it's even worse for IndyGo Access customers. My neighbor is totally blind and earns around $10.50 an hour. He relies on paratransit and voucher services to get to and from work. And under the new fare structure, his daily commute will cost over $11 per day. Weekly, that's more than 5 hours worth of his paycheck just to get to and from the job. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, people with disabilities, that's your paratransit riders, earn 41% less than able-bodied workers on the average. Yet we pay double for transportation. Meanwhile, someone using IndyGo's fixed route service would be able to be subject to the fare capping, meaning they would pay no more than $24.75 per week, making all the further rides for that week free. This same fare capping does not apply to paratransit riders, meaning that with the proposed increase, paratransit riders would pay more than double just to go to work, let alone anything else they wanted to do. We understand that IndyGo needs a fare increase to help offset costs, but a 57% hike all at once is simply too much to absorb. So instead, I propose to gradually increase the fares over the next 4 years, 25 cents per year for both fixed route and paratransit. I further propose that paratransit users be subject to the same fare capping structure. This approach ensures that IndyGo meets its financial needs without placing an undue burden on riders, especially those in the disability community who rely on paratransit services for basic mobility and independence. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Wills and then Greg Meyer. Please state your name, city, state, and zip code when you get to the podium.
Hello, my name's Corey Wills, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46268, and I'm here today to present a solution. People on SSI and SSDI are unable to afford their current percentage as it is written right now. Doing that will enable people like us for disabilities to struggle to go back and forth to work, period. I feel like it should be lowered to a lower percentage or a cent of a dollar. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Meyer and then next Marissa Byers. Again, please state your name, city, state, and zip.
Name's Greg Meyer, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229. 57% fare increase. Wow, that's a lot. I asked the board of directors this evening to think about if your mortgage payment went up, your car payment went up, your electric bill went up. by an increase of 57%, how would you feel? Now you have an idea of what the Indy Access riders and paratransit riders are feeling. I myself and many other paratransit riders are going to have to make some difficult decisions. Which rides do I take? Which rides do I not take? Do I go to the grocery store, the doctor, pharmacy, go see friends, go to church? I'm not sure. And again, 57%, that's a crazy number. Don't know where it's coming up and how we're getting it. We just heard 261 was going to be enough, but we're taking it to 275 for fixed routes. That's okay. My question is, why is IndyGo in the position they're in right now? You know, this financial difficulty that they will be facing next year, year 2, year 3, year 4, down the road, and the public does not know anything about it at all. I do ask that you think about the amounts of increases. I do understand things go up. Things have to be paid for. I do understand and respect that. But I do ask that you think about the people, the most vulnerable, that's going to be hit the hardest. That's myself and other people that use the paratransit service. Thank you.
Thank you. Marissa Byers, and then next Jordan Farmer.
My name
Please
is
Yep.
Marissa Byers. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, 46220. Thanks for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm a daily bus commuter and I choose to ride the bus, even though I do have other alternatives. And as I meet other people who ride the bus, I know that this is not the case for everyone. So acknowledging the financial challenges of operating a system like IndyGo and the importance of finding other funding sources, I do believe that a more nuanced and creative approach is needed in order to avoid putting the full burden of cost on the people who can least afford it. What's more, the increase as proposed will put Indy's fare 50 cents higher than the cost to ride a bus in Chicago, with significantly less service and convenience for our riders here. So as a rider, I ask for a smaller or incremental fare increase, along with the system improvements that provide that value back to riders related to fare. These include a more dignified and streamlined payment experience without broken fare boxes or clunky QR codes or discrimination against cash users. A rider rewards program like Cincinnati's Metro has implemented, which goes beyond fare capping to provide incentives for riders, for employers, and even for downtown Indy tourism. And a higher age cap for free childcare, which would empower Indianapolis families and also develop lifelong riders. As I once overheard someone say on the bus, we should take pride in how our city moves, and these improvements to the fare system would make that possible. Thank you.
Jordan Farmer, and then Tracy Jones. Jordan Farmer. All right, Tracy Jones. Again, state your name, city, state, and zip code.
Tracy Jones, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46239. I don't feel real prepared here, but I just want you to know that my sister is handicapped. She works for Crossroads Industrial just down the street. The fare increase for her would also be 57%. At this point in time, she has been riding IndyGo bus for, I'm going to say 30 plus years. I understand there needs to be a fare increase, but she would lose about 50% of what she makes with this increase, which then leaves very little for her just daily essentials. And I do believe that all the adults that are trying to work and trying to be independent as handicapped adults, this is going to be very detrimental to them. So I feel like maybe a smaller increase for that fare or something that would be more doable for them would be in line. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
You, Tracy. Jeffrey Brown. or Kira Schmid.
My name is Kara Schmid. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, 46204. I've lived out here for about 7 years. I've been taking the bus just about as long. I had to move out here when my car broke down and I had to have transportation to get to work at the pizza place I worked for. I struggle to make ends meet. It was hand to mouth, it always has been, and I recently lost my job again due to physical problems that I can't control that I've had since I was 15 that have continued to get worse. So right now, I'm currently unemployed and receiving no income of any kind, and I'm working my tail off to try to get things in order, particularly with the SSDI office and all that, which has not been going well. But a fair increase for people like myself that are struggling to make ends meet isn't really going to work because like other people have said, you're gonna have to make choices, whether to go to the doctor or get groceries, and it's difficult as is, because hand to mouth, it's very difficult. I've got HUD, SNAP, TANF, Medicaid, and I'm doing the best I can to make ends meet, but I think we should look into how much people are making versus how much they're being charged. People that can afford it could be charged a little bit more. And we could also look into possibly having a collection jar for improvements to the system that we could have at the transit center for people to add $1 to every now and then. That might help. It may not be a perfect solution, but it's an idea. That's all I have to say for now.
Thank you. I'm gonna call again for two names that we called earlier, Jordan Farmer or Jeffrey Brown. Okay, Director Gardner, this completes our list of in-person speakers.
Thank you, and thanks to all of those who provided testimony. We will now shift gears to those who are registered to speak virtually. We also have a few ground rules for this group. When your name is called, you will see a message on your screen that says the host would like you to speak, along with two buttons that say unmute or stay muted. Please select unmute. Next, we will promote you to a panelist so that you can turn your camera on. You will see a message on your screen that says the host would like to promote you to be a panelist. Select the button that says join as a panelist. Once complete, you will be expected to turn on your camera before speaking. When you have completed your remarks, we will change your status back to attendee and your camera and microphone will be turned off. Turned off. Again, you will be given a maximum of 2 minutes to provide comment. We kindly ask that you keep your remarks focused on the proposed fare policy. We will provide a reminder when you're coming to the end of your time limit. Before you begin your remarks, please state your name and the city, state, and zip code of your residence. As stated earlier, this is a listening session only. Questions will not be answered. If you have questions about the fare proposal, we ask that you attend the public meetings where you can share your questions and get answers directly from IndyGo leadership who staff these meetings. You can find more on those meetings at indigo.net. Lisa, you can begin calling our virtual speakers.
Thank you, Director Gardner. We'll begin with Lisa Morgan. Lisa, I'm going to allow you to talk. I'm now going to promote you to panelist to allow you to turn on your camera. Your screen may briefly turn black and show a loading circle as Zoom promotes you to a panelist, but I ask that you turn on your camera now. And if you would begin by stating your name, your city, state, and zip code. You'll have 2 minutes.
Sorry, can I pass?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Next, we're going to move to David Hollinsworth. David, I'm going to allow you to talk, and I'm going to promote you to a panelist. Again, this should allow you to turn on your camera. Your screen may briefly turn black, but please just stick with it. Turn your camera on now if you would, and begin by stating your name, city, state, and zip code. Okay. And if you'd like to speak, you still can. If you'd like to pass, that's fine too. Okay, we are staying muted. We will move on. It looks like that might be everyone. Did Jordan Farmer just arrive? Nope. Oh, online? I've allowed you to talk. We're going to promote you to panelist. And if you'd like to turn on your camera, you'll have 2 minutes. Please state your name, city, state, and zip code. Jordan, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Jordan, you should be receiving a message on your device to unmute yourself. Jordan, we seem to be having issues with being able to hear you. We'd very much like to hear your remarks. So if you'd like to join us at a public meeting or submit your remarks online, you're welcome to do so at indigo.net. Thank you. All right, next we'll ask Susan Jones to speak. I'm promoting you to a panelist, Susan, so you can share your camera with us, please. Again, there may be a brief black screen, but once you are a panelist, if you'd like to, please turn your camera on now. And again, begin by stating your name, city, state, and zip code. You'll have 2 minutes. Go ahead, Susan. Susan, I think you might still be muted. Let me ask you again to unmute. Hopefully you'll see that on your screen. There you go.
Am I unmuted?
You are now. We're glad to hear you,
yay.
Susan.
Thank you
Go
so
ahead.
much. Oh, now it's muted me again. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine, Susan. Go ahead.
This is Susan Jones, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46221. This fare increase will hit those of us who are disabled and using paratransit the hardest. And I believe that there should be some kind of an adjustment for that. I don't believe that means testing is a way to go here. That would be very complicated. But in general, I believe that this fare increase is justified. In the past 16 years, IndyGo and IndyGo Access have drastically improved service to Indianapolis riders. Fair wages for IndyGo employees and proper maintenance of equipment, as well as the ability to purchase and maintain the technology needed to make the best use of our city's resources, will help us have a transit and paratransit system that serves us well into the future and meets our growing and changing needs. I am a grateful transit and paratransit rider, but I do understand that those of us who ride paratransit will be hit the hardest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Next, we'll have Christopher Meyer. Christopher, you should have received a note to be able to turn your camera on. Please do so now and begin by stating your name, city, state, and zip code. Christopher, you can go ahead and unmute.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
Okay. My name is Christopher Meyer, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46202. I do appreciate that costs and inflation mean that there are needs for change. I just want to echo what several others have said. As a blind person and member of the disabled community, I do think that this fare increase will hit my community the hardest, especially because of the rate increase for paratransit. I think it would be wise and helpful to try to offset some of the cost increases for paratransit, IndyGo Access riders like myself. I do live on a fixed income currently, so this will create great difficulties for me in terms of budgeting for the cost of transportation. I am very happy with the improvements to the transit system here in Indianapolis over the last 10 years, especially. And I would just like to see the rate increase be more dispersed over the whole rider population, rather than putting so much of a burden on paratransit users like myself. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to Rolanda Broom. Rolanda, I've promoted you to a panelist. So when now that you've accepted, please turn your camera on and begin by stating your name, city, state, and zip code. You will have 2 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Rolanda, go ahead.
Yes, I am a IndyGo rider. I am grateful for the fact that the have been a lot of improvements over the past few years. I understand that with the ever increasing cost of every single thing, that the costs need to be increased. Here's the concern that I have. Okay. First of all, I think there should be more even disbursement, paratransit versus non-paratransit in terms of the increased costs. Secondly, I also am concerned about the fact that the elimination of the passes for the $60 passes. Because every month I know I can budget at $60 and everything is taken care of, unlimited use. Okay. And that is what I am concerned about. Okay. Because of the fact that you're eliminating those passes. I know that the other folks don't operate that way, but for me and those who are very conscious of the budget, the $60 pass that's used every month helps tremendously, and that I can use that pass unlimited as many times as I need to during the course of a month and not have to worry. So that's what concerns me. I understand about the fare capping, but I am still concerned. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Lisa Morgan. Lisa, I've promoted you to a panelist. Now that you've accepted, if you'd like to turn your camera on now and state your name, city, state, and zip code, you'll have 2 minutes. Oops, she declined. Okay. Then we will move on to Ryan Malone. Oh. Ryan Malone, if you'd like to say it, we've promoted you to panelist. Please. Now that you've rejoined as a panelist, if you would like to turn your camera on, please state your name, city, state, and zip code. You will have 2 minutes. Can we ask you to unmute, Ryan?
All right, sorry about that.
That's all right, there you go.
All right. Honestly, I didn't prepare a lot. I was just wanting to be part of this. But what I will say is I am concerned. I understand the need to increase the fares. I think all of us do. Everything's gotten more expensive. But I think that the concern that a lot of us have, and I'm a person with disabilities, I'm a member of the Mayor's Advisory Council on Disability. That when you're talking about a population, that there's all sorts of data that shows, the effect of that having a disability makes for you being, the earnings you can have, how employable you are.
Ryan, your camera froze. We don't hear you anymore. This might be a downfall of the storms that are passing through.
Yeah.
Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to thank you for your time and move you back to an attendee. If there's anyone else who would like to, I believe the rest of these folks here might be our own team members. If there's anyone who I've missed, please raise your hand in the lower left-hand corner. I see maybe Jack Kelly. I'm going to promote you to a panelist. If you'd like to accept that and turn on your camera. Okay, then I ask Kelly, there you are. You can turn on your camera. Okay. If there's anyone else who would like to speak, please raise your hand. In the lower, in the bottom of your camera, you can do that, and we will promote you. And Director Gardner, it appears that concludes our list of virtual speakers.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. In addition to this public hearing, so far, IndyGo has received 60 written comments either through email or on our website, and a handful of verbal comments through our customer service line. In addition, we would like to acknowledge that we received a letter from City County Councilor Minority Leader Michael Paul Hart expressing concerns about the fee increase for paratransit services. As mentioned prior to the start of the public hearing, IndyGo has held 7 public meetings to accept public input on the fare policy proposal, and there are 6 more meetings scheduled over the next few weeks, in addition to presentations at several neighborhood association meetings. We continue to welcome your feedback over the next couple of months ahead of our board vote August 21st. Please visit indigo.net for the schedule of the remaining public meetings or to provide comment online or by phone. The public hearing has now come to an end. We will now take a brief recess to reset for the rest of our monthly board meeting. Those who are here in person and online to speak for the hearing are free to leave at this time, especially given the weather, if you want to make a dash to get home. If you wish to stay for the remainder of the board meeting, you're welcome to do so. We will begin again in 10 minutes. If you are here to speak on the topic, we will begin again in 10 minutes. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, sir. You know what? No. Here. That's who's government.
We will now return to our regular agenda. First up is action item A3 is next, which is the public hearing on the consideration and adoption of ordinance 2025-01, local bus stops property acquisition. I'd like to turn it over to IndyGo's Chief Legal Officer, Bob Fry, who will share a brief presentation on the proposed ordinance.
Good afternoon, directors. It is recommended that the board adopt proposed ordinance number 2025-01, authorizing IndyGo to acquire certain real property interests necessary for local bus stop improvement projects undertaken in accordance with IndyGo's ADA transition plan. So by way of a little bit of background, in June of 2021, this board approved IndyGo's ADA transition plan, which provides for the improvement of local bus stops to comply with ADA guidelines. The goal of the plan is to make IndyGo's bus network accessible to all users by bringing bus stops into compliance with the ADA. There are currently 3 local bus stop packages in various stages of design and construction, where certain real property interests, both temporary for purposes of construction and permanent right-of-way, will have to be acquired by IndyGo to construct the project. In the event IndyGo is not able to reach an agreement with any individual property owner for the acquisition of a portion of their property, then it will have no choice but to resort to eminent domain to appropriate the property. Before doing so, however, this board must adopt an ordinance authorizing IndyGo to exercise the power of eminent domain. So accordingly, this ordinance was introduced at your last meeting on May 15, 2025, by Chairperson Hahn. And again, it simply allows IndyGo to use eminent domain if necessary. We do make every effort to never use eminent domain if we don't have to, and accommodate property owners as much as we can. And I think it's important to note for the record that in no instance are we acquiring an entire property. We're typically just acquiring anywhere from perhaps 1 to 8 feet strip of land by a property in order to fit in the ADA accessible bus stop. So as required by statute, this public hearing was publicly noticed in the Indianapolis Star, the Indianapolis Recorder, and the Court and Commercial Record. Any person here that's here and would like to give public comment, they can testify or give evidence for or against the proposed ordinance. And following the public hearing, the board will be asked to take a vote on the proposed ordinance. With that, I can try to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Bob. Before we get started with the public hearing, there are a few ground rules that'll sound familiar. When your name is called, please come up to the microphone. Before you begin your remarks, please state your name and the city, state, and zip code of your residence. You will be given a maximum of 2 minutes to provide your comments. We kindly ask that you keep your remarks focused on the proposed fair. It's not a fair policy. Proposed ordinance. Thank you. We will now begin by calling up our first speakers. I will now turn it over to Director of Communication, Lisa Sword, who will call up our speakers. Oh, do we not? Okay. Seeing no one from the public wishing to comment, I will now close the public hearing and turn this matter over to the board for discussion. Are there any comments or questions from the board members on this topic?
I'm not sure, Bob, if you can answer this question or not.
Microphone, Mr.
There, is that better? Okay, sorry. Bob, I'm not sure if you can answer this question or not, but I note that they have we're doing this in 3 phases, or it says projects, 3 projects. So this is concurrent. So we're going to go out and try to acquire all these properties at the same time?
I believe that's correct, but I might look to Rachel Wilson to answer that. She's the project manager.
Thanks, Rachel. It's a dumb question, I know, but.
It's Rachel Wilson, project manager. So 3 different packages. 2 of them are actually in construction now. And we're trying to get those final properties so we can finish construction. And then the 3rd one is actually in design. So It's a little further behind.
Okay, so we're doing Near East Side Phase 1 and Near East Side Phase 2 now?
Yes,
And then
right
the
now.
east side,
Far
far
east
east side, bus
side.
side is in
In
design?
design now.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
And I failed to mention this, I think I did last month, but the list of properties is attached to the ordinance. There's only 13 properties that we have not yet secured the needed right of way.
Thank you for your comments. I will now, am I closing this? I will now close the public hearing.
Yeah, the hearing's closed. Mr. Chair, it's just,
Yeah.
unless the board has any other questions or discussion, it's time to call for a motion.
Okay. I'd like to ask for a motion.
So moved.
Can I
Second.
get a second? Second. Bob, we'll need a roll call vote for this, correct?
Since the vote's adoption of an ordinance, we'll need to do a roll call vote, yes. So directors on the present motion, please indicate your vote when I call your name. Director Slash,
Aye.
Director Quick,
Aye.
Director Fagan, Director Wilson, Director Gardner,
Aye.
motion carries.
You. Next up is we have action item A4, consideration and approval of fair policy adoption and implementation support services by Brooke Thomas.
Thank you, Director Gardner. Good evening, everybody. Brooke Thomas, Chief Development Officer for IndyGo. It is recommended that the Board of Directors authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer to amend IndyGo's contract with City Strategies LLC to ensure that IndyGo staff is adequately supported through the adoption and implementation of IndyGo's new fare policy. If approved, the contract amendment would be up to $124,950. That would bring the total contract amount to a not to exceed amount of $219,900. And the expiration date would be extended to December 31st, 2026. By way of background, I think it's been clearly established, but I just do want to iterate that it had been several years since IndyGo had even kind of reviewed its fare policy. In 2009, we know that that was the last time that we increased the base fare rate. In 2019 is when we updated the policy to introduce e-fare collection and off-board fare payment, and we held the rate constant at that time. Beginning in April of 2023 and all the way through early this year, staff conducted an internal review of the fare policy and several related policies and procedures that ultimately led to the recommendation that is under consideration now. To do that work, we enlisted the support of City Strategies to increase our staff capacity and skill set so that we could prioritize this effort and really just to have the expertise and knowledge to perform the work in a timely manner. Today, asking to amend the contract, again, by increasing the budget and extending the expiration date, just so that we can retain those skills and expertise to revisit if needed, refine if needed, some of the work that we did to put these recommendations in place. Under the fiscal impact, we expect that our budget for 2025 will carry us through next year. That's why we feel like we can extend the expiration date beyond 2026, but not have to ask for new money in 2026. With that, I would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brooke. Are there any questions? Hearing none, I'd like to ask for a motion for approval of the fare policy adoption and implementation support services. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Next up is action item A5, consideration and approval of an amendment to the Program Management Support Services contract presented by Mr. Matt Duffy.
Good afternoon, directors. Director of Capital Projects, Matt Duffy. I'd recommend that the Board of Directors authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer to execute an amendment to the Program Management Support Services contract with H&TB Corporation, or H&TB, for an amount not to exceed $2,265,000, which brings the new contract total not to exceed amount to $9,673,000. This also includes an extension to June 30, 2029. Since June 2020, the capital project team has been hard at work to implement the Marion County Transit Plan. As such, it was determined that we'd need additional support from outside services to implement it. So following a competitive request for proposals process, the board approved a contract with H&TB in June 2020. And in the background section, the initial contract amount and amendment dates are there for your reference. Actual costs incurred through May of 2025 total $5,732,454. So over the life of the contract, it has primarily been used for embedded subject matter experts to assist with local and federal projects, most specifically the Purple and Blue Line implementation. Those projects, Purple Line is closing out and Blue Line is expected to close out by June of 2029. Which is why we're requesting the 4-year extension. As projects are completed, those services will no longer be needed. And so we will retain the services. It's requested to retain the services to avoid any gap in knowledge and the assistance that they've provided since the projects have initiated. It'll be very challenging to retrain and get people up to speed should we have to do that. So that's why we're requesting the extension. The additional dollar amount that we're requesting is anticipated to cover services through the June 2029 timeframe. We reevaluate and set the budgets annually. So we'll look back at the previous year and look forward to the upcoming year. So the projections we had, we update annually and set them on an annual basis. These are budgeted through a variety of sources, depending on the project, locally or federally funded. But sometimes it's in the capital budget and sometimes it's in the operating budget, depending on what they're working on. The DBE goal was set at 2%, and you probably notice this is significantly lower than what is usually set for locally funded or federally funded projects. The reason for this is because IndyGo did not want to set an expectation on H&TB because the primary bulk of the contract is with embedded staff. And so to ask them to have DBE participation on embedded staff was a burden that we did not want to put on them for this contract. The utilization today is 1.09%, and through commitments, it will get up to 1.9%. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Matt. I like how you anticipated some of our questions there. Are there any questions for Matt? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion for consideration and approval of the amendment to the Program Management Support Services contract.
Sorry.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Next, we have action item A6, consideration and approval of award of shelter cleaning and maintenance contracts presented by Daniel Hendricks.
Good afternoon, directors. Director of Facilities, Dan Hendricks. It is recommended that the Board of Directors authorize the President and CEO to enter into a 3-year contract with the Shuck Corporation for the cleaning, maintenance, and repair of bus stops, BRT stations, shelters, and other transit amenities for a contract total not to exceed $4,243,076. Brief background, this contract is how we keep our bus stops and everything that we use clean, safe, and in good repair. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Are there any questions regarding this proposal? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second for approval of the IFB 25-02-534 shelter cleaning and maintenance contract.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor, passing the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The motion carries. Thank you, Dan. You'll be with us for a little while, I see. Next up is action item A7 is consideration and approval of award contracts for janitorial services, again by Mr. Dan Hendricks.
Good afternoon again. Dan Hendricks, Director of Facilities. It is recommended that the Board of Directors authorize the President and CEO to enter into 3-year contracts with 2 one-year options for janitorial services at the following locations. For our solutions for $142,267 for the 1501 West Washington Street main garage. For Pristine Image for $1,153,152 for the 2001 West Washington Street, the Carson Transit Center. For Pristine Image, $72,540 for the 6410 North College location. That is the foundation and a driver layover. And for Well Done Services for $31,843 for the 9255 Rising Road. That is the Purple Line terminus over at Fort Harrison. The above pricing are amounts not to exceed at each location over the 5-year term of the contract. If the options are exercised, the total amount not to exceed for all these contracts, if both one-year options are exercised, is $1,399,802. Background, this contract keeps all our facilities looking clean, safe for not only our employees, but also for any involvement we have with people coming in, contractors, meetings. This is what keeps us looking nice. Be happy to address any questions.
Just maybe touch on is it the XBE goal a little bit? And how we're looking, I saw the numbers are.
Mr. Chair, I might be able to help
Okay.
Dan on this one. We didn't. The award of these janitorial contracts has been a challenge. You might recall that you all awarded some contracts last month. After that, we've had 2 of the vendors who were awarded basically backed out. Even though they bid on it, they didn't. Kind of then didn't want to work. So we've had to go to the next lowest bidder and the next lowest bidder. So it's been a bit of a scramble even to get this to you. And what we found in the meantime is some of the XBE participation, some of the subs that they've listed, their certification is expired or they're in the middle of re-certification. And so frankly, we just don't have those numbers for you today. But we will compile them as soon as we can, and we're happy to report those back to you at a later date.
Okay, thanks for that clarity, Bob. Are there any other questions regarding this proposal?
Dan, if you could perhaps just go back through the proposed awards and the amounts. I may have been not looking at the list properly. Just want to make certain that I'm looking at the same list that you're looking at.
For R Plus Solutions, $142,267 for West Washington Street. For Pristine Image, $1,153,152 for 2001 West Washington, the Carson Transit Center. For Pristine Image, $72,540 for the 6410 North College Avenue. And for Well Done Services, $31,843 for the 9255 Rising Road.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hearing no other questions, I'd like to ask for a motion for approval of IFB 25-01-536 janitorial services. Excellent, thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thanks, Dan. Next up, we have action item A8, consideration and approval of awards of contracts for waste removal and recycling. Again, our friend Dan Hendricks.
Director of Facilities, Dan Hendricks. It is recommended that the Board of Directors authorize the President and CEO to enter into a 3-year contract with GHW Waste Services for an amount not to exceed $48,000 per year for a contract total not to exceed $144,000. The contract gives IPTC the option to exercise 2 one-year extensions for a total amount of not to exceed $97,200. If both one-year extensions are exercised, the total amount not to exceed would be $241,200. A little background, this is what removes all our waste that we generate. It also expands our recycling program for the East Campus. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Dan. Are there any questions regarding this proposal?
Yeah, Bob, maybe you can answer this one. I'm a little confused. In the discussion, it says that there was an invitation for bids, but no responsive bids were received. The public procurement laws allow in such an instance for the utilization of a special procurement. Can you help me understand what that is?
Sure. So in state procurement laws, there's various special purchasing methods that are outside the typical bid or a request for proposal process. And one of those provisions says if you put out a bid and you just don't get any bids, well, then you can go out and just seek some quotes. And so that's the special procurement. We tried a bid, it didn't work. So we just solicited some quotes, and I'm not even sure, Dan, you might be able to answer this. I don't even think anybody else responded, but GHW.
No, just GHW did.
So that was the only quote, that you got back?
Yes.
Okay, all right, well, all right, good, thanks.
Thanks. Any other questions for Dan regarding this proposal? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and second for consideration and approval of the special purchasing contract for waste removal and recycling.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The measure passes unanimously. Next up, with our good friend Dan. Action item A9, consideration and approval of extend parts washers and paint supplies contract presented by Dan Hendricks.
Director of Facilities, Dan Hendricks. It is recommended that the Board of Directors authorize the President and CEO to amend the contract with Safety Clean Systems Incorporated for the cleaning and maintenance of parts washers and paint supplies to increase the contract amount by $145,000 for a new contract total amount not to exceed $232,600. Little background, the garage relies on these parts washers in the maintenance of buses and engines, and the supplies to paint our buses to keep them looking nice. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any questions regarding this proposal? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second for approval to extend RFP 23-02-472 parts washers and paint supplies contract. Can I get a motion in a second? Thank you.
Second.
Excellent. It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
Thank you, directors.
Thank you, Dan. Take your break. Next up, we have action item A10, consideration and approval of extension of government consulting contract with Cardinal Infrastructure LLC, presented by Jennifer Pierce.
Good evening, Jennifer Pierce, President and CEO. Cam Radford, our Chief Government Affairs Officer, is on a well-deserved vacation, so I am doing this one on his behalf. He and I work very closely with this consultant. We are recommending that the Board of Directors authorize President and CEO to enter into an amendment to the agreement with Cardinal Infrastructure, Government Consulting and Advisory Services related to the Federal Transit Administration, and extending that term of the agreement for 8 months at a cost of $96,000 for a total contract amount not to exceed $204,000. As a bit of background, we entered into a contract with Cardinal last year with board approval in August 2024. At that time, we wanted to use their services to get us through the execution of the Blue Line contract. So it was a 9-month term to advise us in relations with the Federal Transit Administration. They were a tremendous help getting us to execution of that in January. With the new administration taking office soon after that, Cardinal has provided valuable guidance to us on various issues related to policies and procedures that are being prioritized by federal officials. They are uniquely situated by virtue of also of their very vast and deep transit experience to provide us with some ongoing consultation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. Are there any questions regarding this proposal?
No questions, but I just wanted to make a comment for my colleagues. At Jennifer's request, I went out to Washington in October to participate in some meetings on the Hill with the Cardinal folks. And I must tell you, I found them to be incredibly professional. Everything was laid out in just ruthless military fashion. I mean, it was.
We know that speaks to your heart, my friend.
Enthusiastically support this contract extension.
Thanks, Rick. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second for consideration and approval of extension of government consulting contract with Cardinal Infrastructure LLC.
So moved.
Excellent. It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Next, we have action item A11, consideration and approval of contract to upgrade electronic fare collection systems, presented by Mr. Marcus Burnside.
Yes, thank you, Director Gardner. Marcus Burnside, Chief Information Officer for IndyGo. It is recommended that the Board of Directors authorize the President and CEO to enter into a contract with Masabi LLC for upgrade of our electronic fare collection system for 3 years, an amount not to exceed $2,165,000. A little bit of background, and I'm gonna keep it brief. In March 2018, IPTC released a solicitation to deploy a new electronic fare collection system as part of its Marion County Transit Plan. The goal of the solicitation was to modernize the system and provide more accessible, convenient, and streamlined services to our passengers. June of 2018, IPTC board meeting approved Floberg Group. They were awarded a 5-year contract with 2 optional years to provide IPTC's electronic fare system, including fare validation devices, ticket vending machines, physical and electronic fare media, fare inspection devices, and an online customer portal. Expected to exercise their 2 optional years of the original contract in 2023. For the discussion part, again, keeping it brief, the current contract with Floberg Group expires December 31st, 2025. At the December 2024 IPTC Board of Directors meeting, IPTC was approved as a member of NeoRide, a regional council of governments, which provide coordinated cooperative actions among its members. IPTC has elected to leverage NeoRide's master service agreement with Masabi to replace the electronic fare collection system, specifically the software platform, onboard and offboard fare validators, fare inspection devices, the mobile app with enhanced mobile application features, including trip planning, a versatile partnership portal, the ability to offer fare incentive programs, a way for third-party entities to purchase and distribute fare value, electronic fare tickets, credit debit card tap to pay capabilities, and a retail point of sale network. The only component that IPTC will retain from Fluberg is its TVMs. Under the physical impact, the funding for this project will come from the capital budget. The cost of the electronic collection fare system upgrade will not exceed $2,165,000, which includes 10% contingency funding. The annual operating cost for this project is estimated and is listed in action item for years 2026, 2027, 2028, and the contract is up for renewal in March of 2029. The annual cost includes licensing fees, reward program license fees, maintenance and support fees. The operating cost may increase as MyKey usage increases, since the transaction revenue share estimate is based on MyKey usage and percentage-based fees, payment processing fees for credit card sales. Also, operating costs may increase if IPTC chooses to launch a retail network that allows customers to reload MyKey card media at selected retail locations like CVS and Walgreens. The retail network cost is based on a percentage of the retail network sales channel costs. For XPE declaration, Masabi is committed to using Quality Mobile Installations LLC for 3% WBE participation. They're located out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Today, we have with us, he was gracious to come, Brandon Leonard. He's the Vice President of Strategic Accounts with Masabi. He was strategic for us getting to this point, answering all our questions with the master service agreement, staging all of the workshops, providing a demonstration that was for internal and for the internal stakeholders and for the board members. And we appreciate his assistance through this with this procurement. With that, I'll include him. If you have any questions about this action item, I'd be happy to answer.
Thanks, Marcus. I appreciate you also highlighting in here the other kind of what ifs that could increase costs and making sure that those are very clear for us. I guess my one question is, how long will it take for us to implement this?
Okay, so there's a lot of things that are, the main thing with, once we get the contract signed, so that's the first.
I like how you put the pressure back on us.
That's exactly right. Get the contract signed, and then what we'll do from that point is order the equipment, and that's where that's a long part of it, because there's a supply and demand, and the supply chains. Estimated between 3 to 6 months to get equipment, and then there's probably, depending on if it's a bus installation versus a station installation, it could take anywhere from 2 weeks to, I don't know, 2 months or less. We're hoping for less, but we're talking realistically July 1st of 2026. If we can get it there sooner, we will let you guys know.
Thanks for that.
Okay.
Are there other questions or comments for Marcus?
Mr. Chairman, I've got two, if you don't mind. I'm a little unclear. So in the fiscal impact, we got a not to exceed number, which includes a 10% contingency funding. And then you estimate annual costs. Is that over and above the not to exceed 2 million number?
No,
or is that included with it?
It's included with it.
It's included. Okay. And then I guess my second question is, everybody knows how I feel about the current fare system.
Right.
I mean, have we got a plan So that when we test this thing and we know we know when that switch flips to revenue service that this thing's gonna work.
Yes, I mean, we're working with Masabi the whole time, and that was one of the major questions that we asked them. Are there going to be any integration issues with the Floberg TVMs? And they assured us that there won't.
Okay. I mean, I remember when I first was appointed to this board, and, nobody bothered to tell me that we couldn't collect fares because the system didn't work.
Right.
And I want to avoid that if I can this time.
So just to give us some more clarity on that background, in 2019, when we launched Red Line, the one thing that didn't work was the TVMs. They came with the euro bill dispenser versus the dollar one. So we couldn't do anything on the Red Line as far as collecting or doing type of fares. And then COVID hit. So it's just a cascading effect of things not being able either not working or being able to triage.
Okay. All right, good. Thanks, Mark.
Marcus, one more question in regards to the fiscal impact. So understanding that operating cost may increase based on the circumstances that you listed, are any of those, I guess, can you talk just a little bit more in regards to the annual estimated operating cost and the anticipation of cost increasing? Is that embedded in there, or we should just expect these additional costs?
So right now, we're just asking for amounts that are known.
Okay.
So the variable cost, which is based off of usage or ridership or just of the MyKey system, obviously we don't know what that number is. We can give you an estimate, but if we give you an estimate, we would either be below or above that. So we just basically included in the action item amounts that are known at this time. And so that's why we clearly stated that those may be costs that may increase once we implement the system itself.
Thank you.
Mark, just want to follow up on Stephanie's question. So if the cost goes up, if more people are using the MyKey, which would suggest that either A, they're moving away from cash, or B, we got more people riding.
Right.
So we would assume there would be some revenue impact?
Right. So three things. One, people are using more equitable fares, which is MyKey. Two, there may be increase in front ridership. And three, there may be more people paying. So those are three things that may impact the cost. Right.
Got it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your question, Stephanie, too. Appreciate it.
Great questions. Any other questions? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion and a second for approval of electronic fare validator replacement. Thanks for that motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you very much.
Next up, action item A12 is consideration and approval of IPTC yearly 2025 insurance renewal by Mr. Brian Clem.
Thank you, Darius. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Clem, Director for Risk and Safety for IndyGo. It is my recommendation to the Board of Directors to authorize the President and CEO to bind insurance coverages for IPTC for the term of 1 year from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 for an amount not to exceed $1,458,499. We'll start with background. IPTC procures insurance every year with Aon.
Before you get too far, you said 1,458,498?
I did, sir.
My board packet says 1,473,874.
Within the last 3 hours, I put pressure on our underwriters, and that price came down by $15,000 for retained limits.
Okay.
And I am
Good for
still
you,
working.
Brian.
I am still working on those numbers.
Way to slap me around, buddy. Good job.
All right. And I knew that that was coming. Sorry. Changed within the last 3 hours. A little bit of background, IPTC insures coverage through a broker through Aon every year. In 2025, we moved from a calendar year renewal to a mid-year renewal. And that better is to align with the agency's fiscal budget year. It promotes competition. We look at decreasing administrative challenges that we have. And according to that time, the board approved a 6-month extension for insurance, and that went through June 30th of 2025. So we moved from that end of year, calendar year to now a mid-year for some efficiency that we see in the agency. A little bit of discussion. The best financial option quoted was a replacement cost value, which was interesting. We had once talked about looking at actual cash value, the differences, but the best cost advantage for IPTC and the agency was the full replacement cost. Lines of employment practices, directors and officers, crime, fiduciary, and cyber insurance coverage actually returned at a very flat rate from what we had seen in the past at 0.998%. Which was a slight increase. Property coverages remained steady at a 23 cents on the dollar change, which technically was a 0.68% minus 0.68% change from what we saw in the last 6-month renewal that we had. However, total premium increase in property coverages due to a few factors. The increase was 13.15% over the previous year, mainly due to increased in the quantity of vehicles we have, the revenue service vehicles. The age of our fleet changed with the Purple Line buses and the new orders that we have. So our total value that we have for the agency of what we're looking to cover increased 17.83%, mainly due to that fleet. Including your agenda package is a chart showing each line of coverage that corresponds to a year-over-year percentage change and the premium cost and total dollar amount for the 2025 and 2026 renewal.
Sorry, Brian, if I may, the chart that Brian just referenced is actually not in your packet, but it is laying there with your packet. It looks like this. So.
Fiscal impact, the cost of insurance is funded through our operational budget and DBE declaration with insurance premiums are paid through local funds. So we do ask and request for an XBE goal at 15%, MBE at 8, WBE at 3, VBE at 1, and a DOBE. However, there is no participation for an XBE because there is no subcontracting opportunities in the market with solely using an underwriter. That concludes my report, and I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Are there any questions or comments?
Maybe. Hang on just a second. Brian, I know you've answered this question before, but I can't remember what the answer is. But we don't get TRIA coverage, right? We opt out of that.
It is offered, and what TRIA is terrorist insurance coverage.
Yeah, terror risk insurance.
Yeah, within that was offered for entities that may be struggling to even purchase it. So that was a government option that started roughly about 20 years ago. And to date, there was no claim that ever met the TRIA threshold to even cash in on that option.
I thought
so.
We
optioned out of that.
Yep.
Why pay that extra? Yeah.
Yep, you're right. I remember now. Thank you very much.
Good memory, Rick.
Yeah. My diminishing mental capacity is directly related to my next birthday.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, I do notice that your script doesn't really have a place, but we'll need a motion. Yeah.
Yep, I picked up on that. Thank you, Bob. Hearing no other questions regarding this action item, I'll ask for a motion and a second for approval of IPTC yearly 2025 insurance renewal. Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Brian. This brings us to agenda item number 5, information items. We have item I1, which is our finance report presented by Mr. Bart Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bart Brown, CFO. This is the May 2025 financial summary. On the revenue, our federal assistance revenue came in over budget for the month, $356,805. And we are over budget for the year, $1,359,969. Our operating revenue is under budget by just $133. For the month, it is under budget by for the year, $348,175. Passenger service revenue is under budget, $29,898 for the month, and for the year, we're under budget, $295,512. PMTF, property tax, and local income tax all came in on budget. And then the service reimbursement program was over budget by $5,121, and for the year is over budget by $11,366. The total revenue for the month was over budget by $198,066, and total revenue for the year is over budget $727,375. Under expenditures, personnel services, fringe benefits are under budget for the month at $238,554, and under budget for the year, $1,892,097. Overtime expenditures were over budget by $196,957 for the month, and for the year, over budget $750,643. And then May salary expenditures were over budget for the month, $271,770. That was because there were 5 pay periods for our weekly paid employees in May. Usually there's only 4. So year to date, we're under budget $2,062,327. So for all personnel services for the month, over budget $230,173. For the year, we're under budget $3,203,781. Other services and charges claims were under budget by $428,476. And that was due to a refund from Liberty Insurance for $360,851 related to the bus that was set on fire. And for the year, the category is under budget, $1,203,587. For miscellaneous expense, under budget by $27,471, and under budget for the year, $206,259. Purchase transportation category is under budget, $203,292, and for the year, it is over budget by $15,630. Service expense category under budget by $754,740, and under budget $9.6 million for the year. And again, most of that was a carryover from 2024. Utility expenditures were under budget by $71,184. That was due to a one-time refund of $79,000 from AES for an overcharge. And then for the year, we're over budget by $58,257. Their service and charges category is under budget $1,485,163, and for the year under budget by $10,955,000. Finally, materials and supplies, the fuel and lubricant category is under budget by $70,864. Under budget for the year, $769,862. For the month of May, maintenance materials category over budget $13,065, under budget for the year $42,354. Other materials and supplies category under budget for the month $88,927, for the year under budget $511,338. And tires and tubes were under budget for May $18,884, and then for the year we're under budget $188,986, and then for the month total materials and supplies was under budget $165,610. For the year, it is under budget by $1,512,540. And for May, all total expenditures came in under budget, $1,420,559. And for the year, under budget, $15,672,129. There were no non-budgeted requests last month. And just as an announcement, next month in July, our budget director, Justin Burko, will be presenting the 2026 recommended budget. We will meet with Finance Chair Wilson before that, and of course, we'll get our CEO write-off. But I could tell you, as a preview, it actually is looking like the budget is going to increase at a slower rate than it has in the last couple of years. So just want to congratulate the entire team of putting that together and bring you some good numbers next month. Mr. Chair, that concludes the report. Happy to answer any question the board may have.
Mr. Chairman, I think Bart's being modest. He and his team managed to substantially slow the rate of growth. And I think that once the final numbers are in, we'll be pleasantly surprised by the work that they've been able to accomplish.
Thanks for that. Thanks for your report, Bart. You make tires and tubes coming under budget sound really, really good. Appreciate that. Are there any questions for Bart regarding his report? Hearing none, report's accepted. I guess I'll end by saying a sincere thanks again to all those who participated in the public hearing section of the meeting. Your feedback is really important and is critical to us as we continue to seek feedback on the FAIR proposal. I would also like to thank all those who participated and represented IndyGo in the Pride Parade over the weekend. I felt like we were well represented, even though I didn't get a chance to walk. I was with my grandmother. I did wave at you, but I thought that was it was great representation of the organization. And with that, we stand adjourned. Thanks, everyone.